In this pretend scenario, not only does Caitlin Clark like the comment, she also replies and says, "Hey Remus, that's real. Thanks for your support."
That would be a big problem. That would be a big problem. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows this would be a big problem if Caitlin Clark did that.
How would the mainstream media react? How would WNBA players react? This is so racist!
The entire storm around Caitlin Clark has now exploded far beyond basketball. This is no longer just about hard fouls, trash talk, heated rivalries, or physical defense inside the WNBA. The controversy surrounding Tiffany Hayes and the silence from Cathy Engelbert has turned into something much bigger. A direct debate about whether the league truly protects its biggest star equally. For months, Caitlin Clark has carried the weight of the league on her shoulders. Television ratings exploded because of Caitlin Clark. Arena attendance exploded because of Caitlin Clark. Merchandise exploded because of Caitlin Clark. Yet every controversy involving Caitlin Clark seems to spiral into another conversation about resentment, hostility, and selective enforcement. Now the spotlight has shifted directly onto Tiffany Hayes after social media reactions tied to her exchange with Caitlin Clark ignited outrage online. Fans expected immediate action from Cathy Engelbert and league leadership. Instead, according to critics, the league response felt non-existent. That silence became gasoline on an already raging fire. The reason this story has become so explosive is because the WNBA itself created the expectation. The No Space for Hate campaign was marketed as a league-wide standard, but now many fans believe Caitlin Clark exists outside that protection. They see one standard for the rest of the league and another standard entirely when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And that perception may be more dangerous for the WNBA than any single rivalry, any single foul, or any single social media post.
Take a look at this here. The WNBA's No Space for Hate policy applies to every player except Caitlin Clark. Tiffany Hayes is publicly encouraging her friends to attack Caitlin Clark, and there's been no response from either you or the WNBPA. Suspend Tiffany Hayes immediately at WNBA, at WNBPA, at Tip Hayes. Cathy Engelbert's dropping the damn ball again, and they're doing nothing about this, okay? We're gonna get into what KC from Behind the Lines had to say. He absolutely went off.
The backlash toward Cathy Engelbert started building the second fans connected the league's silence to previous investigations involving other players. That comparison changed everything. When allegations surfaced last season involving fan behavior toward Angel Reese, the league moved aggressively and publicly. Investigations were discussed. Statements were issued. The situation became national conversation almost immediately. Whether people agreed with that response or not, fans saw visible action from the league office. But with Caitlin Clark and Tiffany Hayes, critics believe the response completely disappeared. That contrast is what fueled this entire controversy. Because to many fans, this is not just about one exchange involving Tiffany Hayes. It is about a growing belief that Caitlin Clark is expected to absorb hostility silently while the league avoids confrontation. Every hard foul, every viral confrontation, every heated post-game exchange. Every social media controversy involving Caitlin Clark becomes evidence in a much larger argument about how the WNBA handles its biggest attraction. And the timing could not be worse for Cathy Engelbert. The WNBA is entering the most financially important era in league history. Expansion teams are arriving. Media rights are growing, sponsorship numbers are increasing, corporate attention has never been higher. But almost every one of those conversations somehow circles back to Caitlin Clark. That is why the tension feels so dangerous, because rivalries are healthy for sports. Physical basketball is healthy for sports. Passion is healthy for sports. But once fans begin believing the league office itself is uneven or politically selective, trust starts collapsing. And critics argue that Cathy Engelbert is now facing exactly that problem. The reaction online exploded because many fans already believed Caitlin Clark was being targeted physically during games. So when the Tiffany Hayes situation surfaced, it instantly connected to months of frustration that had been building underneath the surface. For those fans, this was not an isolated incident. This was confirmation.
But this is not normal. Check it out for yourself. As you can see, an anonymous fan is making vague threats towards Caitlin Clark, and an anonymous WNBA player not only endorsed the threat by liking it, she also replied to the threat by saying, "Girl, that's real. We keep it 100." In fairness to Tiffany Hayes, do I think this threat is serious?
The psychology surrounding Caitlin Clark inside the WNBA may be the most fascinating part of this entire situation. Because historically, every major transformational athlete changes locker room dynamics. It happened with Michael Jordan. It happened with LeBron James. It happened with Stephen Curry. When one player suddenly shifts the economics, media attention, and public conversation of an entire league, tension becomes inevitable. And Caitlin Clark has done exactly that. The problem is that Caitlin Clark entered the league already carrying superstar treatment from fans and media before winning anything professionally. To veteran players across the WNBA, that can create resentment instantly. Some players see the attention as deserved, others see it as manufactured hype. That emotional divide has quietly shaped almost every major storyline around Caitlin Clark since day one. Meanwhile, Tiffany Hayes represents the older mentality of professional basketball toughness. Veterans from previous eras often believe rookies must survive physical treatment before earning respect. The league used to celebrate that culture. Hard fouls were considered part of initiation. Trash talk was considered normal competition. But modern sports are different now. Social media transforms every confrontation into a national debate within minutes. Every stare, every shove, every comment becomes a headline. And because Caitlin Clark drives unprecedented engagement numbers, every incident involving her becomes magnified beyond normal basketball standards. That creates pressure on Cathy Engelbert from every direction. If the league acts aggressively, critics accuse the WNBA of favoritism toward Caitlin Clark. If the league stays silent, critics accuse the WNBA of refusing to protect its most valuable star. And that balancing act may now be impossible. The larger issue is perception. Fans increasingly believe Caitlin Clark is fighting two battles simultaneously, opposing defenses on the court and resentment off the court. Whether that perception is fully fair or not almost no longer matters. Once fans emotionally lock into that narrative, every future incident reinforces it automatically. That is why this controversy involving Tiffany Hayes became so explosive so quickly. It plugged directly into a storyline fans already believed was true.
Now you gotta remember, there are a lot of Caitlin Clark fans who believe that she is being targeted by jealous WNBA players. For normal people, this doesn't make sense. Why would you want to butcher the cash cow? Why would you want to turn the golden goose into the polished turd? But during her rookie season, WNBA players were blinded by jealousy, and there were several instances where they were.
The financial implications of this situation are enormous for the WNBA because Caitlin Clark is not just another rookie star. Caitlin Clark is now deeply tied to the league's television growth, ticket sales, merchandise momentum, road attendance, and mainstream visibility. That changes the stakes entirely. When fans believe Caitlin Clark is not being protected fairly, anger moves beyond basketball and into consumer behavior. Fans stop trusting league messaging. Fans begin attacking league leadership. Fans begin threatening boycotts, and sponsors notice all of it. That is why criticism toward Cathy Engelbert has intensified so dramatically. Because many viewers believe the WNBA wants the financial benefits created by Caitlin Clark without addressing the chaos surrounding her rise. They see a league profiting from the spotlight while avoiding the uncomfortable cultural tensions attached to it. And internally, this situation could affect locker rooms too. Players around the league are watching how the WNBA responds. Veterans are watching, younger stars are watching, future draft prospects are watching. If players begin believing league discipline is inconsistent depending on media narratives, distrust can spread quickly. Meanwhile, every new controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark keeps escalating the divide between fan communities online. One side believes Caitlin Clark receives unfair hostility because of jealousy. Another side believes the media exaggerates every incident because of her popularity. That divide may define the next era of the WNBA. And the most dangerous part for Cathy Engelbert is this: silence itself becomes interpreted as a statement. No press conference becomes a headline, no punishment becomes a headline, no clarification becomes a headline, which means the league now risks losing control of the narrative entirely. Because the more the WNBA refuses to clearly define where the line exists, the more every future confrontation involving Caitlin Clark will explode into another national controversy. And eventually, that pressure reaches a breaking point.